Hey there, welcome back. We are going to continue pushing on with this finishing series that we've been working on. We talked about oiling our leather when we got done tooling it. We went on from oiling to painting or to dyeing backgrounds, with a leather dye where it's bar grounded. We dyed the borders on there. We did the painted backgrounds on that smooth background. We're going to move on from that today and talk about our finish. So our, I guess not our final finish, but it's part of the finishing process for our tooled leather. And product I'm going to be using is RTC. It's a Be Natural leather product, and I really like this. I've used lots of other products as well. There's pros and cons to different ones. I did a side-by-side comparison. Another one similar to the RTC is the Pro Resist from Phoebeans, but in a side-by-side comparison that I did, I preferred the RTC, so that's what I've been using. Again, there's other products out there as well, but for today, I'm going to show you how I use this RTC, and I would use this same procedure if I was using a Sheen, a clear lac, anything like that. It's going to be the same process as what I'm doing here. I've used those products in the past as well. So what I'm going to apply this with is just a scrap of sheepskin. I trim this down a little bit, and so just so it's not quite as fuzzy, we don't have as much to contend with, but I leave enough that it will still hold some product on there. Now, there's a few different procedures that I'm going to use here. So I'm going to push some of these aside here, and we're going to start with this piece here. This is just a natural, we're going to do a natural antique on this piece. It's been tooled, and then a coat of neat's foot oil. If you watch that video, that was one of the pieces in there. So when I do this, I just push my sheepskin there. Do that, get a little bit on there. Now with this, we will actually just wipe that right across there. Get kind of a good even coat on that, but I'm gonna let that sit and dry in there. Okay, I'm gonna set that one aside. Next, I'm gonna move to the dyed backgrounds one. And with the dyed backgrounds, I'm going to do that the same way. I still have enough on there, so we're just going to wipe that right across there. Again, making sure we're just nice, even coverage. It starts drying up pretty quick. You can kind of see that color turning a little bit. I'll leave these, try to keep those in camera so you can see those as they're turning color there. And gonna start coming back a little bit more to that original color. But let's move on to the painted backgrounds. Now this one is gonna be a little bit different. Actually, you know what? We're gonna skip. I'm gonna come back here. We're gonna save those painted backgrounds for the end. Now with the dyed borders, same as the dyed backgrounds, you can see that none of that dye ran. It held on there just fine in those backgrounds. Here, sometimes we will pick up a little bit of that dye onto our sheepskin, just because when you dye something flat and smooth like that, and we dyed it pretty heavy, that's going to leave a little bit of that pigment sitting up on the top there. I mean, I got clean fingers there, and I can probably rub and get just a little bit of that color. You can see a little bit of that coming off. Not horrible, but a little bit of it does. That's one of the reasons why we do want to seal that. Wipe that off there. So with this, I don't want to sit and scrub in circles or anything like that. That's just begging to have a problem pulling more dye off. But I can still wipe across there and be just fine. See, I have enough on my sheepskin there that it pulls across there. we're getting enough down in my tooling. We're pretty darn heavy on there now. Actually, I normally wouldn't go quite that heavy, but there's a little extra on there. Now you can see there's just a little bit of discoloring on there, and I will show you on a little towel here. I'll get a white towel so you can actually see that a little better. But when I push down that, you can see where it did pull a little bit of that dye color out of there. Now all that is the pigment that it takes off the top, that extra pigment. We still get super nice dark dye color left on there, right? So don't panic when a little bit comes off. But that's why I don't want to sit there and just rub in circles, because it would take some of that extra dye pigment and put it over top of your tooling where you don't necessarily want it. Now, when it comes to paint, this is where it switches up a little bit. The painted backgrounds can get a little bit tricky because that paint will wipe off of there if you're not careful. We're gonna do something a little bit different. Instead of wiping across that, we'll actually pat down. So with this, I make sure I have plenty of product on my sheepskin there. And again, I would use the same product or the same procedure with a different product, like a Wyo Sheen or a clear lacquer or something like that. But here, I can wipe there where it's smooth. But once I get here where the paint is, see how I'm dabbing straight down there. And I don't want to do it too much in the same spot. And that's the reason why I have enough product on there to where it's just dabbing down kind of once, maybe twice in one location, and I'm not having to sit there and really dab at it. Out here on the end, we can wipe that on there. The reason I don't want to sit there and keep dabbing too, because it's the same thing as if you're wiping. You're just going over that same spot where once that paint's wet on there, it's real vulnerable to get pulled off by dabbing or wiping off there, and you smear it over the other parts of your tooling. Now, if you do over dab it and it takes a little bit off, that's not the end of the world. You can always go back and touch your paint up once things are dry. But if you smear that and take it off of there and then smear it all over your tooling, not really much helping as far as taking that off at that point. If you do accidentally do that, then boy, work quick, find a clean spot of your sponge and try to get it off of the tooled area where you didn't want it. But once that starts setting, and you're done. You can't really do much at that point. But that's probably one of the biggest questions I get, the biggest problems people run into when they try doing the painted backgrounds. So they'll do the painting, all that cool stuff, and then they wipe that lacquer on there and it smears it all over. As I had a guy in the shop one time and working on his own project, and he wanted to try the painted backgrounds and stuff. So he painted backgrounds, painted some other stuff on a logo, did a really cool project. And I said, yeah, that paint's really easy to use. Just make sure you dab your lacquer on there. Don't wipe it. Well, he's somebody who'd been doing a bunch of leather work for a long time and was pretty used to just wiping that lacquer on there. So he's working on his project, and it wasn't 10 minutes later after I had warned him about that, he forgot about the warning. And I heard him making up a whole bunch of really creative words back there. And I said, oh, you forgot to dab it, didn't you? Sure enough, he did. And it smeared it all over. So, again, I hope that helps. Again, this, the procedure for these first few, a natural, the dyed backgrounds, the dyed borders, and that's, again, like the Phoebeans Pro Dye, Phoebeans Leather Dye, either one of those will finish the same way. Wiping your lacquer over top, you're fine. When you get to the painted backgrounds, you have to dab that so you don't smear it all over. Now, once that dries up, hey, then we're good to go. You'll see once we go with a couple more steps in this finishing process that we'll come and actually wipe over that paint again with some different things, and it's not going to hurt it now that we've already done that. So would you ever put the RTC through a fine spraying bottle? Cody, I don't know what to tell you there. I have never done that, so I don't know how that would work. If you try that, let me know. But I would be quite curious to hear about that. I know the way it sets up, you'd have to really clean your bottle out because it would probably ruin your spray bottle there. But I don't know, that may work. I've never tried that. The color on the background, so that background paint color is from Angelus there, and it is worn off, but I'm pretty sure they call that gift box blue, I think, if I remember right. But it comes out to kind of that mint color. So thank you for joining me. Hope this helps. Any questions, comments, thoughts on a video that I can help you with, be sure and leave those in the comments. And we're gonna continue to push through with this finishing series, and we have a couple more steps left. We're going to be antiquing next, and then coming by with a final finish coat that's going to seal that antique in and protect your work. So thank you guys, take care, and we will see you soon.